Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 88 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League Show podcast. I am your host, the self-proclaimed FPL guru, Alex Rex. Joining me today are my usual suspects, Barry Stokes and Scott Williams. Barry, where in the world are you today?
I'm at Chester today.
Why is that funny, Scott?
I don't know. Who's in Chester in January? I'm Maverick. Is the zoo even open?
Not at Chester Zoo, mate. Don't worry about
Well,
that.
I mean, yeah. I'm just thinking of fun things to do in Chester. The zoo.
Yeah, seeing quarries and stuff like that. Yeah, that's exciting as it gets in this horrible weather as well.
Well,
so
you say
that's
quarries.
a lot of fun.
You say quarries. It sounded like Corrie. Hollyoaks is filmed in Chester.
There you go. Maybe you can go to the set of Hollyoaks whilst you're there, Baz.
If you could.
Tomorrow I'll give it a look.
Scott, you look cozy. Dressing gown, cup of tea.
Yes, got to want your cost of living. Yeah, I'm really cozy actually. Yeah, just going from work. First thing I've done is put my slippers and my dressing gown on. It's a really good year so far.
What a life. Love it. Well, thanks so much for everyone for joining us this week for a slightly shorter episode because we are mid-game week 21. So we will just review the game week so far and have a little chat about certain things you need to look out for, maybe a bit of chip strategy stuff, etc. But yes, don't forget to follow us on social media platforms, or for Pod, or for P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Don't forget to 5-star reviews wherever you get your podcast from, like the video on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and join our legion of 36 followers, I think it is. So yeah, join. You'll get the content.
If we get to over 100 followers, Baz has got a little surprise for us all. So let's get following.
Yes, it's well worth it. Click the follow button.
It's massive.
Game week so far, lads. A couple of key talking points. I think the first one has got to be. I've got to come to you first on it, Scott. You took the gamble on Kevin. That's Kevin De Bruyne for everyone else. Got the notification through straight away that he wasn't starting, and then came on and delivered. How did you watch the game?
I did watch the game. Yeah, fantastic game of football.
Talk me about it.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what we thought might happen happened, and it then happened. So we thought there was a good chance he wouldn't start, but there was also a good chance he can come on. Like you said, Alex, in the chat, that Newcastle team is looking tired. That defence is looking ragged. If he comes on the last 20, 25 minutes, there's a chance he does something. And it literally happened. It's weird when a player's been out injured, especially for a few months, you always think, is he going to take a bit of time to get going? Is he going to be as good? Because let's be honest, he's in the top 5 players in the world. And he just come on and he just carried on where he'd left off his previous game. His goal, like, there's not many players in the world that do that kind of compose. It just passed it into the corner.
It's amazing style of finish. He's one of the only people ever. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was just it's like he's computed about 50 different scenarios in a split second and gone, actually, best thing for me to do is just like decoy the defender and just play this into the corner. It's such an intelligent footballer. It was a fantastic finish. And then that ball to Oscar Bob, I mean, don't get me wrong, Oscar Bob did incredible. His touch, his composure was so good for a young lad as well. But that ball had to be inch perfect to him. And all we're doing now is thinking when Haaland comes back in, he's just going to be setting him up every 2 seconds. And it was a great game of football to watch. Newcastle, end of that first half, they rode the storm as it was at the beginning of that game. And then got a couple of goals. They were looking really good for the win. And then, City just did what City have done for the past few years now. Just got a big win against one of the hardest grounds to go to at the moment. And that's a message to Liverpool, to Arsenal, to anyone else up there. That's a big message to them. And all I will say is, I know we're going to touch on Kevin De Bruyne a bit more about whether to bring him in. Don't worry, he might not start next game because Pep likes to do this. He likes to inch people back in. But he can come on and do what he did. So it's worth the gamble. And it's like I said, I took that gamble because I'm quite low down in the league. It was a calculated gamble. If I was up there, if I'm up where Baz is, I wouldn't be. It's not the smart move because you're gambling on probably a 20-minute spell. But it's worked out like it did for me last season or the season before. So yeah, big game player.
It's the eye test thing as well, which we talk about quite a lot, and is he looked, like you say, he looks like he'd never been away, And also, when I was talking about the Newcastle getting tired situation, he had Kevin De Bruyne is one of the best passers of the ball in the world, if not the best at the moment. They gave him all the time in the world to find that pass. It was crazy. How do you give De Bruyne that long in the last minute? But they were knackered.
Yeah.
They're shattered.
And I think one of the reasons I brought him in was as well because they were playing Newcastle. It was probably going to be a game that was tight, and it's going to be a game where the team fancy themselves at home to win the game. Let's say, and they're on the screen now, so I'm just going to use Everton as an example. If they were away against Everton, two things might happen. They might be sort of comfortably winning the game anyway, so they might not bring him on. Or they could be clinging, then they're going to be like, clinging on for a point. Well, they're going to be not giving Kevin De Bruyne the space you've just said there. So actually, I'd be less inclined to bring him in if they were playing in Everton away. But you just know with Newcastle, they're going to be open and there's going to be those chances for him.
They have to go and try and win the game at home as well.
Yeah.
Newcastle, that it's a big moment. Even at 2-2, they still when they were 2-1 up, felt in the game they had to win it. But as from an FPL perspective, obviously Scott's got him in at this very moment in time. I know logistically, it's going to be difficult to get him in with Haaland and Salah in the same team, and this is where the team value thing might start to really kick in with a little bit of extra money. With the double game week coming up in game week 25, the fact that they won't blank in 26 and potentially Liverpool will. How do you feel about trying to get him into your team? Do you think we need him in your team? Talk to me from an FPL perspective. What are you thinking?
After that masterclass of 25 minutes or 30 minutes, however long he played, I'm definitely trying to get him in. I was debating. It was hard. I went head over heart because I got Saka in instead of De Bruyne because they were the two options I was going to get in for Salah. And I thought, well, Saka's going to potentially start. And then obviously Crystal Palace at home, I thought it's a great fixture. Whereas I thought Newcastle away, as Scott mentioned, it'd probably be a tight game. And I thought Newcastle are usually quite a pressing team. But obviously, as you touched upon, they're very tired as well. So it was a great tactical move from Scott to get De Bruyne in, to be fair. Looking at it, I did a plan. I was speaking to Phil Allen, and I can actually get all them three players in if I wanted to, without tearing up my team that much, to be honest. So yeah, I think when Egypt probably come out of the group stages after their shocking display, then it might become sooner. So yeah, I'm definitely looking at transferring Kevin De Bruyne in, but I don't know who for, Bowen or Richarlison. They're my two players that I'll be getting rid of to get De Bruyne in because I've still got like 3.3 million in the bank. So, yeah.
Next fixture: Burnley at home, Brentford away, Everton at home in a double game week. So it's just it looks very good for De Bruyne to be able to, if you can get him in to be able to work him into your teams. As like we've said, he doesn't need to play the whole game to be able to have an impact on it, especially in those matches. And then the other thing we spoke about last week is this is why someone like Son's not going to get back in our teams easily at all, because you can't afford him as well. And then it's also the real difficulty of, well, you look at the double game week that potentially might occur for Liverpool, which I will touch on, obviously, in a little bit later on. You probably want Trent. So we're starting to get to that point now where all season team value has basically been irrelevant, really. We could always afford whoever we want. Now, with De Bruyne coming into the picture, it starts to become a little bit more interesting, shall we say. Haaland injury news. He seems like he's still training but not involved. So I don't know if you've heard anything more about Haaland, Baz. Well,
just the same. I was quite thinking he was going to play because he's been training for quite a while now, but obviously not in the matchday squad against Newcastle. So fingers crossed they should be available for the next game week. You'd like to think, especially is it Burnley at home?
Yeah, Burnley at home, and also he won't. He doesn't need to be fit until like a week on Tuesday, or like a week today, a week yesterday, something like that. So it's got a little bit of time because we've got the FA Cup replay. Do you know what's really blagging my head? Is trying to remember when the next matches all are, because we've got FA Cup third round replays now haven't we? And then we've got Premier League this weekend. Then we've got Carabao Cup semi-finals in the midweek of next week. And then we've got FA Cup 4th round that weekend after. And then the Premier League's the midweek after that. So actually, it's quite a while. It's not even that. It's nearly 2 weeks, isn't it, until the next Premier
2
League
weeks, yeah.
when City play. So it honestly, I look at the fixture all the time, and I still I have to really remember it really slowly like that to remember.
It feels like an international break again because there's no FPL. It's like, oh bloody hell, when's FPL coming back on?
It's quite nice that all the players are getting this little bit of time off, and us as fantasy football players, we're getting a little bit of a rest as well. It's quite nice, isn't it?
The longest game week ever, then big gaps and breaks, and it works out. Just to touch on a few of these other things before we have a quick look at fixtures, chips, and a couple of other things that I want to wrap up with this week is we'll start with Man United Spurs because you talked about Richarlison. Obviously, he scored a goal, which is big news. Pedro Porro got an assist. We saw Rashford and Højlund score goals, Højlund with an assist as well. Anything that came from this game that made you think about investing in Man United players, or anything that put you off some Spurs or got you involved? But what did you make of it, Scott? Player wise,
yeah, there was nothing at all to make me want to invest in Man United players. I think Gary Neville said it well. Like, it was, don't get me wrong, it's a fairly even game, but then you look at all the players Spurs had out, and it's like, oh crap, yeah, Man United should be winning that game at home. So I wouldn't be rushing back. I mean, Rashford's finish was nice. It was a lovely 1-2 with Højlund, and Højlund's finish was banging as well. So Højlund picking a bit of form up, which is good to see. I would just say I wouldn't be rushing to get any in, but the 2 goal scorers you're going to be keeping an eye on. We're lacking striking assets anyway, and we all know Ollie Watkins likes to sometimes run hot and cold. So I feel like Højlund in for Watkins seems kind of something that could happen in the future. And Rashford is someone that you want to be keeping an eye on. He obviously he had a good season last season. He was an asset that everyone had in the team. You guys triple captained him. I didn't because the game messed up. Anyway, we all get back into and he obviously returned big. So yeah, no one really too much from a Man United perspective. For a Spurs, I thought they played really well. To say they've got a lot of players out, you think of the key players, but then you also think of those like Sarr, centre mid, Basuma, those sort of players as well that they were missing. So yeah, I was impressed by how they set up. Also, again, one to keep an eye on maybe someone like a Van der Ven. I feel like he was doing quite well scoring wise before he got injured. Obviously he was back last game week, so one to keep an eye on. But I wouldn't be rushing to get any of those players on the pitch.
The reason why I ask about Man United is because Højlund's 6.8 mil. He's only 3.2% selected, so he's a decent differential.
Yep.
The last 2 games he's featured, and he's got 7 points and 11 points. So it feels like maybe he's just come into that little bit of form now. Scored his last 2 Premier League appearances and an assist in this last one. United's next fixtures are Wolves away, West Ham at home. Yeah, they've got Villa away in game week 24. Then they've got Luton away, Fulham at home. Then they have got City, but then Everton at home and Sheffield United at home. So probably 2 out of the next 8 are tough, and 6 out of those 8 are games that they should be scoring goals in, if not like more winnable games. Don't get me wrong, the game week 29 game against Sheffield United stands a chance of being postponed because it's FA Cup. But yeah, probably 2 out of the next 7 are difficult. So just to pay attention to those guys. Baz? Yeah, your thoughts on mostly on Spurs? Obviously, Richarlison's your man. Have you got Porro as well?
I have, yeah. It was a lovely time when they Porro assist for Richarlison. I was like, get in, you beauty. Wife was like, you're not even a Spurs fan. What are you on about? I'm like, just get in, yeah. Didn't even want to explain it because she would have just gone over the top of her head. So I was like, yeah, get in.
What did you say?
Get in.
Okay.
2 fists. Get in. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, innuendo bingo for that last 20 seconds there would be on fire.
I might clip that for Instagram.
So Richarlison, I'm probably going to keep, and I'm going to get rid of Bowen because obviously West Ham's fixtures look going forward after the Bournemouth game are not great. And obviously West Ham at the moment with obviously injuries and that look quite blunt up front. So Richarlison's probably going to keep for a while. Obviously Porro, I think if you haven't got him, he's gonna kill you in your mini leagues or your rank going forward. He's just you're not going to get clean sheets with Spurs, but going forward, everything comes through Porro. So yeah, I think and he takes set pieces at the moment because Maddison's obviously injured, but he'd be back end of this month.
Yeah.
Manchester United side, but they don't play to Højlund's strengths, Man United, and it frustrates me because Rashford's so predictable, just cuts in. Garnacho is obviously the one that I'd probably be keeping an eye on because he can go either way on that right hand side. And obviously he's cheap. So if you wanted to look at getting Salah, Kevin De Bruyne, and Haaland, then that could be a potential option to get Garnacho in that way, and obviously afford them free. So yeah, I think Højlund, yeah, he's in good form at the moment, but they're not putting the crosses in the box, and he's just fighting on scraps at the moment. But fair play to him, he did a great finish and a good little link up player Scott mentioned earlier. So yeah, I think Garnacho is the only one that I'll be looking at.
Yeah, I think Garnacho and Højlund are on my radar. Let's just put it that way. I'm not rushing to buy either of them for any great rate or not, but they are definitely on my radar to pay attention to. Everton Villa with a 0-0 draw. Chelsea with a nice little 1-0 win over Fulham with a Sterling assist for Palmer, which will have just helped a lot of people out, I think, and a Chelsea clean sheet, which is always a bonus for anyone to get a clean sheet this season, really, to be honest. Never, especially Chelsea, because they do look fragile as anything at the back normally.
I don't know how they got a clean sheet. I think you can tell by the fact that Petrovic got bonus points. Like, I don't know how they got a clean sheet.
10 points here, and then you can also tell by the fact that all of their defence got yellow cards. But it's just and Enzo, of course, as well. Yeah, it's anyway. We know what we're getting with Chelsea. I think this season inconsistencies other than Palmer, who continues to return. He's the only one you just kind of have to have, really. Nothing new there. And then Burnley and Luton, which we had. I don't want to labour the point too much, but foul or no foul for the goal at the end. Quick fire.
Foul.
Fouls.
100% foul.
It's a foul.
I think they've even come out and said it, right?
Yeah, well, Howard Webb on his the little show he does with Michael Owen, which I just can't even stand to watch, if I'm honest. And I really feel like I should. I saw the clip on Sky Sports, and he said that it wasn't clear and obvious to overturn it. Basically, that's the long story short. Whether you think it's a foul or not, in my opinion. So
I mean, keepers have been getting fouls for a lot less for a long time.
Just turned around and put his bum into him, didn't it? End of the day. He looked over him and took him out.
They're saying you can challenge for this space, but that ain't a fair challenge to challenge for that space. He has a look at him and then sticks his bum into him and not into his hip. And yeah, Trafford probably needs to be stronger to get to it, but still, it's a foul.
Just goes down like a sack of nothing, doesn't it? That's the problem as well, and that need to be stronger. But it's just one of those situations where they always get given, and now you know that someone's going to do that to a keeper, and a foul's going to get given, and it's just going to kick off.
What I will say, Luton deserved that though.
They did.
Like they deserved it in the game, but they also just deserve it because out of all the late goals they've conceded against Liverpool and teams like that, they've deserved a bit of luck actually.
Well, in the Chelsea game, hitting the crossbar twice and the start to lose 3-2, and they would, you do make your own luck at the end of the day, and they kind of got a point there that they probably should have had it in another game. But to be fair, they played well in that game. I think
it's a massive point, though, isn't it, against Burnley?
Well, it's to stop them getting 2, isn't it? Stop them getting 3 points. And I think Luton were. I was watching it in the background, but it felt to me like Luton were the better side when I was watching it. So yeah.
Plus, you had value in it as well, since it was the battle between me and you were differential draft keepers.
Yeah,
good result for me, as soon as mine got 10 points.
Absolutely.
I got half of that, and then Alex got 2.
Yeah, it was a foul. What a joke. I got screwed. It's an embarrassment. It's a disgrace or disgracia, whatever they say in Spain. I'm not going to get fined at the end of the day. So, Looks like Bowen might be back, by the way. I just saw some news today that said they had some good news that he might be back for the Sheffield United game. Can't be bothered scrolling through that. There's too many pop-ups going on and it's doing made into business. So I just got rid of that off the screen straight away. So we've got a landscape now for the next 2 weekends and a midweek. Wrap my head around this, where we will get a lot of information before the game week 22 deadline. Right, we'll get a lot of information. And I just wanted to take this section for us to know what we need to look at and know what we need to look out for. Okay. So we will find, now that the double game week's happening in game week 25 for City and Brentford, and Brentford are also playing Liverpool, because Liverpool, if they make the Carabao Cup final, which they're obviously the favourites to do, if they were to make the semi-finals of the Europa League and the FA Cup, they would only have one other free midweek for the rest of the season. So they'd have game week 26, 34 and 37, but one of 34 or 37, probably 37, would have to have another fixture go into it because it would be cancelled from the FA Cup before, and 34 potentially as well. So basically, if Liverpool make the Carabao Cup final, they're not going to risk the fact that they might not fit the game in later down the line. So because they've moved the City-Brentford game in, I think it's then highly likely they'll move the Liverpool-Luton game forward to game week 25 because they've made that change now. So you need to watch out for, do Liverpool make the Carabao Cup final or not? Because if they do, they'll probably double in 25, but blank in 26. So when you're making your plans, they're going to have a really favourable double against Brentford and Luton, but then they're not going to have a game in game week 26. The key thing is the other teams that might not have a game in 26 are Chelsea and Spurs, because they play each other in game week 26. So if Chelsea turn it around against Borough and make the Carabao Cup final, you're going to have Liverpool, Luton, Chelsea and Spurs all blank in game week 26, which means that if you're holding Salah, Trent, Palmer, Porro, and like a Kabore or a Mengi, you've got 5 players missing in game week 26. So it's just, you have to watch out for who makes the final and whatever. And then, plan accordingly from there. But you'll have that information before the game week 22 deadline, so you can make your plan moving forward.
Or you could just go free hit.
You could free hit, but this is why you shouldn't. Because then game week 29 occurs. So game week 29 is when the FA Cup quarterfinals are. Now we've got 3rd round replays tonight. We'll also have had the 4th round and the 5th round draw before the game week 22 deadline. So we will know before the game week 22 deadline what fixtures are the most likely to happen in game week 29 and what aren't. Now, obviously, you can never fully predict what's going to happen in the FA Cup, but we'll have a good idea who the favourites will be in each tie and what the fixtures are most likely to happen and what aren't, whatever. So these are the fixtures at the moment. There's only one confirmed fixture so far for game week 29. Yeah, Burnley Brentford. There will be 2 because Chelsea play Villa in the Cup. So either Arsenal-Chelsea will happen or West Ham-Villa will definitely happen. The rest, you might have 3 games, you might have 4 games, you might have 5, you might have 6, you don't know. But basically, it's an unpredictable scenario. So if we're looking at the draw in for the 5th round and we're thinking that there'll only be a couple of games cancelled in the quarterfinals in for game week 29, then maybe, use your free hit in 26. Maybe use your free hit in 25 if you want to bank, sort of top up on all the doublers. You can maybe use it then because you'll know what's going to happen in 29 roughly. So these are all things that you've got to watch out for before the game week 22 deadline, because you don't want to have 5 players blanking in game week 26 and just hit that game week knowing you need to use your free hit in 29 and being screwed. Not that you have to field 11 players in 26, but whatever. Game week 25 also looks pretty good for a triple captaincy on Salah, or maybe even Haaland if you wanted to do so. Brentford and Luton for Salah, are you going to get a better double game week than that during the season? The likelihood is probably not. Just looking at the fixture projections, not to go into the detail of this because there's no point on this podcast. But the likelihood is that's going to be the best double game week. So yeah, you're probably going to use your triple captain. Then you might use your bench boost if you wanted to do so, because we'll all have good benches because the fixtures look good. But yeah, so when you're planning your fixtures, know who doubles in 25, know who blanks in 26, and know who estimated blanks in 29. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Scott, I'm looking at you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a future me problem.
But before the next FPL deadline, that's the thing. Before game week 22 deadline, you will have a lot of this information. So
go big on Liverpool, go big on Chelsea. That's what I've heard.
And free in 26. If you're going to do that. The thing
Well, wild card.
Yeah, that's not. You could wildcard, couldn't you? If you want to get a bit giddy, and you can, if the fixture's looking good.
I think one of the things I will say is that if you have wildcarded already, getting these transfers right is absolutely vital, because you don't have a get out of jail free card, and if you've already used your wildcard again, you almost certainly want to save your free hit, because you just don't know what's going to happen in 29 yet. You've got to cover it off. So I think if you are, you're probably going to have to go a little bit milder on Liverpool assets for game week 25 if it's a double. But anyway, like you say, future you problem. But when you're looking at your plans, these are important things to watch out for. If you are an absolute lover of the detail, which I am for this, because it's when I get the most excited about a season, listen to Planet FPL. There's a chip strategy podcast that James from Planet FPL does. And if you love the detail, from about 20 minutes in for about the next 50 minutes of the podcast, he basically talks about potential chip strategies for the rest of the season based on doubles and blanks. Skip the first 20 minutes. It's a review of a game week that you don't need to listen to. Get stuck into it at that point. I listened to it in the car. So I enjoyed that. To emphasise as well, obviously the Second Chance League will start as well, I think, so for overall rank. If you are sat there thinking, FPL's done for me, I'm 100 points off the leader and whatever else. This time last year, I was 115 points off Sandeep, who was top of the league. I ended up being 2 points behind him at the end of the season. With the right strategy and the right planning, you can catch up and you can do the right things. Just a shame Baz decided to be also as good and I didn't stand a chance of catching him, and he won the damn league. Lads, that's it for us. Thanks for joining us for a shortened podcast.
Quick fire, what are you having for your tea?
It's going to make me sound like an absolute pig. I have no idea whatever my wife's made for me.
Boo. Oh, what's Barry having?
Don't know. That.
Burger and a pint.
Yeah.
Are you watching any of the footy tonight, Baz? FA Cup third round replays, Blackpool Forest, Bristol Rovers.
Yes,
right.
It's on BBC, so I'll be watching it. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, enjoy that. Scott, yourself?
I wouldn't have thought so, mate. No.
What are you having for your tea?
I did some bolognese last night, so bolognese and a bit of pasta. So
cheese on top.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm trying to lose a bit of weight. Went swimming this morning. No one cares about that. But
is this a New Year's resolution, though? Is it? Or...
Yeah, just don't want to be fat anymore.
You're gonna fail.
No, I am. I'm gonna massively fail. I was looking at everyone in the swimming pool today, thinking you're all gonna fail.
To be fair, everyone's switched off now. We can talk about what we want.
Yeah, no, it's great, isn't it?
But yes, thank you ever so much, everyone, for joining us. Don't forget to follow our social media platforms: Oliver Pod, Oliver P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Give us 5 stars wherever you get your podcast from. Like this video on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. That's all for now. Thanks a lot, everyone. Good luck in the second half of Game Week 21, and we'll see you a day later next week for Game Week 22 after the Carabao Cup semi-finals. Bye for now.